Gone are the days where you have to call your dog back 5, 6, 7, 8 times in the park when he's just ignoring you, playing with other dogs, because today we are learning recall in 6 easy steps. Step number 1 is to name your recall. Instead of saying a variation of different things like puppy, pup, 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 come on, pup, 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 I want you to come up with one phrase that your dog can learn means come back to you. Okay, now I usually use the dog's name and then come. So I would say, Egon, come, or Rogan, come, puppy, come. But the way that I say it, my tone of voice is the same every single time. I really want them to be able to differentiate their recall to anything else that they might hear. Number 2 is recall reward. Obviously, when we first start teaching this new recall, it means absolutely nothing to them. So this phrase, puppy come, the dog's name and come, means absolutely nothing. So we need to do recall reward so that they compare the two together. We want them to hear their recall and know that immediately after something good is gonna happen. This will really help build up the excitement and drive for them coming back to you. Okay, so the way that we're going to do this is you're literally just going to say your recall and reward the dog. Rogan, come. Yes, good job. Rogan, come. Yes, good job. You're going to repeat this a few times until the dog is kind of clocking on to the fact that he's hearing this new phrase and then he's getting a really high reward. So it's already starting to mean something really good to your dog. Number 3 is to charge your recall. Recall is all about building up real excitement and drive so that when they hear this, they come sprinting back to you because it's the best thing that they could possibly hear. Now what we need to do is charge this recall up. If you think about your phone, it's still going to work when it has 10% battery, but you know for a fact that it's not going to work for long. And it's the exact same thing. If you do not continue to charge your dog's recall, then you're on 10% and it will let you down. You need to charge this recall to as close to 100% as you possibly can. That means that you need quality repetitions over quantity. There are a few different ways that you can charge your recall. One of the ways that I love to do this is by playing what I call the recall game. This is where there's 2 of you in the same room to begin with, and you are literally just gonna take it in turns to do the recall. So when one of you does the recall and the dog goes there, you will feed the dog and then you'll put your hands behind your back when the dog's still looking at you because you've just fed it, so it's not going to want to leave you, and you're going to completely ignore it. Give it 2 or 3 seconds for the dog to realize that the treats have gone. Don't give the dog any contact, and then the second person recalls the dog. This is the recall game. But the most important thing is to, as soon as you've rewarded the dog for coming to you, hands behind your back, no eye contact, completely, the fun has stopped, completely ignore them, because then they'll be looking at you and just somewhere in the back of their mind, they're literally just going to hear the second person say the recall. And this is a great way to really build that kind of snappiness in them leaving something to run to you. So the recall game is a great way to charge your recall. Other ways are just when your dog is in another room, make sure that the dog's not doing anything interesting. You don't want to be trying to compete with your recall just yet. Step number 4 is random recalls. This is where we're really going to start to increase the distance that's between us and the dog, and we're going to do it randomly throughout the day. Again, it's always quality over quantity with recall. So a good time to practice is if you're in the kitchen, you're cooking up something, you've got a nice bit of chicken that's spare, dog's in another room milling about. This is a perfect time to continue to charge that recall and to practice a random repetition when the dog is in another room. The reason this helps build drive and excitement is that they're doing something else that's pretty boring, and then all of a sudden they can't see you, but they hear this amazing phrase that we've been teaching them, and they're going to sprint back to come and see you. So this is a great way to, again, continue to build that drive for their recall. Random recalls. You can do this throughout the day, you can do it at different times, and you can also use what you're going to do in the day to do these reps. For example, if you're about to feed the dog its dinner, then that is a great time to recall the dog. So the dog's in another room, you've just made its food, recall the dog. That's another great time to do a random repetition of this. Another good time would be is if you're about to go for a walk. This is super exciting. So it's another great time to practice a random repetition. If they're out in the garden, just sniffing a bit of grass, nothing too interesting, it's a great time to recall them in to do something really good or give them a high reward. Step number 5 is distractions. This is without a doubt the hardest part of teaching a recall, and it's where 99.9% of us all fail with it, okay? Now, the reason is distractions are actually just rewards in the environment, okay? If your distraction is playing with other dogs, or it's a squirrel running out in front of you, or there's some food on the floor, whatever it is, distractions are more often than not just rewards for your dog. So next time you're out on a walk, next time you're facing one of these distractions, I want you to see it differently. There is a reward, a self-reward for your dog. There's something that they can choose to do that is super fun. And then when we use our recall, we are literally asking them to choose between 2 things that they really like. This might not necessarily be a smart thing for you to do. What we need to do is reduce the excitement that our dog has for distractions. So how do we do this? We teach focus and we teach obedience and we teach calmness around all of these distractions. For our recall to work consistently and reliably, we need to make sure that the dog is relatively calm, meaning if it's overstimulated, if it's extremely excited and it's running around playing with other dogs and we have no way of contacting the dog, as in we don't have a long line on it or we don't have a lead on it, there's nothing we can do, and it's very likely that the dog just won't hear us because he's having so much fun. And even if he did hear us, because what he's doing is a 10 out of 10 activity, then he's probably not going to come back to us anyway. We either need to be able to enforce the dog coming back to us, and we need to be able to interrupt that play, or we need to be able to lower the level of excitement that the dog has for that play so that he can hear our recall, okay? Teaching focus and doing obedience around distractions is the best way to do this. Teaching the dog how to be around the most stimulating things but remaining calm but still having fun is a great way to increase the reliability of your recall. Step number 6. The secret. The secret behind a truly successful recall is not always challenging it. It's not always using the recall to get the dog away from something that they enjoy doing. Most people, most owners will constantly call the dog away from something that they like doing instead of training the dog in different environments to be obedient and to listen to its name and to focus and to just basically listen to us. We allow our dogs to misbehave, get overly excited, overstimulated in different environments, and then we try and fight with whatever they're doing and we use their recall, and this is just a big fight, and we need to step away from that. You have to be mindful that if you're dragging your dog away from things that he's enjoying doing and you're not charging your recall, then you're gonna end up with a dog that wants to ignore you. If you're always charging your recall and you're always keeping that excitement and drive for your recall, and you're training your dog in this environment, you're training your dog how to be around other dogs, how to ignore things, how to focus on you, and in general he is more obedient, he is calmer, and he will listen to his name. When you use your recall, then it will be successful. But if you're always fighting against and dragging the dog away from things that he loves to do, then the dog will learn so quickly that it's not a good idea to listen to you. He'll choose what's best for him. He'll choose the most fun things. So that's the secret. Don't always challenge your recall. Don't always drag your dog away from things that he enjoys doing. Train your dog to be obedient in these situations and always charge your recall. Keep those 2 things separate and you will have a truly reliable recall. I promise you that. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up, consider subscribing, and if you need any extra help with this video, then comment below and I will get back to you and give you all the help that you need. Other than that, I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Bedtime!